It can also strengthen the immune system.
Love
So it can really help us fight off colds and flu.
Yes.
It can help us with bugs and bacteria.
Yes.
So that's quite significant because if you've got kids and you're exposed to lots of bugs because they bring them all home, you know, to grow at your house, then it can help you avoid picking up the issues and the diseases and the bugs that your kids are getting.
Welcome back to The Peaks Life, another exciting episode with little bite-sized chunks of wellness wisdom. I'm Mike Warren with Lynn Fernie as always. Now, we often have people who say, I would love to do cold exposure because cold exposure is one of the pillars under Activate Your Mind and Body, and everyone's intrigued by what is cold exposure, what are the benefits of cold exposure, but also we've got to be mindful that people starting or going into cold exposure, there is some risks. There is some risk and some benefits. So I thought today we'd have a bit of a chat around what is cold exposure, and more importantly, when people are talking about the ice bath, which is where people sort of tend to go once they start the cold exposure, what are some of the risks and benefits so people are really well aware of what they're doing and how to approach it properly.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. And I just want to say, if you're tuning in, and you don't like the sound of ice baths, don't switch off.
Oh, turn off now. Go away.
Don't switch off. You really listen for a bit, because I tell you what, if you try cold exposure, you'll be amazed.
You'll never go back.
You'll get addicted. And everybody does. Everybody who tries it, even though they've got, the idea of this is horrendous, it's how you possibly do it. I would never expose myself to the cold. It's amazing, and the benefits are phenomenal. So listen up.
And we are talking, when we're talking cold exposure, we're talking anything from a 30-second cold burst in the shower right through to an ice bath with a bit of extended time. So cold exposure sounds scary, but it can be literally finishing your normal day-to-day shower by turning off the hot faucet, 30 seconds of cold just to give that refresh and a few of the benefits, and that's all it takes, and we
100%.
Still get benefits from that.
100% you do.
And the benefits are pretty exciting for those people tuning in who are on a bit of a, no, I'm not leaving the cat out of the bag, weight loss journey. But if you're on a weight loss journey or you're looking to change the way you feel and look, there are some amazing benefits of a little bit of cold that can really boost the results you expect.
They're absolutely
All right, let's go from the top. Let's talk about the cold exposure benefits as a start point.
Oh, let's do that. So I guess the first one, and one that people are really interested in, is fat loss. So what we know is that when you get exposed to the cold, you get cold,
Yes.
basically your metabolism increases.
Okay.
So once you get down below about 15 degrees C, so that's, what's that in Fahrenheit? That's going to be around probably 55-ish in Fahrenheit. Once you get below that sort of temperature, you will see an increase in metabolism and a resulting weight loss.
Okay.
So basically, your little energy cells are working harder, and they're working harder because your body's getting cold. So they've got to generate heat to keep you warm, and that additional work that they do to generate heat results in you losing fat.
And that's probably the first interesting thing, because a lot of people, when we talk about cold exposure, ice baths, they think it's got to be cold. It's got to be 0 degrees. And what you're saying is there is, from 15 degrees C downwards, which is not that cold really, you're still going to get a lot of the benefits of cold exposure, which for a lot of people, that would be a sigh of relief. I don't have to go into freezing cold. I can start with something that's quite comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely right. You can. I mean, any temperature that cools your body down, and even at those temperatures, we're talking about significantly less than your body temperature.
Of course, yes.
So think about your normal body temperature. What is it, 37.9 degrees C? Then you're already cooling down. Well below that.
Absolutely.
So any temperature is good. So I think really, really important to say right now, any temperature that's cooler than your body is good, especially once you get down to that 15 degrees. Doesn't have to be super cold. So fat loss, if you're on a weight loss journey and you want to lose fat, or you've done really well but you've stalled and you just want to go a bit further and push and boost a bit, then cold exposure is fantastic for that.
All right. So let's talk about the progression, because we are talking ice baths.
You wanted benefits though. That's not the only benefit.
Just
There's a lot more than that.
All right, list us the benefits. I was going to come back to it, but if you want to do it first, let's get everyone excited about the benefits of cold exposure.
There's a lot of them. So fat loss is the first one, but blood sugar. So we know there are a lot of people with either pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
And, we're estimating about 20% of the global population has got type 2 diabetes now. So if you're looking to reverse that, if you're looking to improve your blood sugar control, then again, cold exposure can really assist with that. So I think if you've got any kind of blood sugar issue, whether it's you're having, peaks and spikes and crashes,
yes.
Or you've got your blood sugars going up and like I said, you're at risk of diabetes, this is worth including in your toolbox because it can help you with that.
Good. So fat loss, blood sugar control.
Then you've got all of the benefits around reducing inflammation.
Yes, of course.
We've always known the RICE formula: rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Now, there's lots of discussion at the moment about whether it's good or not good, but fundamentally, putting ice onto your body, putting cold onto your body will actually reduce inflammation.
Yep.
So if you've got a level of chronic inflammation or you've got an injury, then we know that it does reduce the inflammation.
Yep. So always, when there was an injury, you used to put it on to reduce the bruising, the swelling and the inflammation. So you're doing that for the entire body, and obviously if your body has an inflammation or you feel subjected to a inflammatory disease, some cold exposure is going to assist with that.
Is going to assist with that. It can also strengthen the immune system. So it can really help us fight off colds and flu.
Yes.
It can help us with bugs and bacteria.
Yes.
So that's quite significant because if you've got kids and you're exposed to lots of bugs because they bring them all home, to grow at your house, then it can help you avoid picking up the issues and the diseases and the bugs that your kids are getting.
And just a personal anecdote, because we travel a lot. We spend a lot of time in Indonesia, which is full of bugs. But we do ice baths almost 3, 4, 5 times a week. And I would suggest, since we've gone to full keto and included ice baths, I don't remember a time where I've been sick. I don't remember a time where you've been sick. We're absolutely free of any bugs, sicknesses, diseases. Even though we work long hours, we travel to places where there's lots of bugs, and a lot of people around us, including kids and family,
that's it,
get bugs.
We sit on planes
but we just
frequently, and I can definitely say in the past, I would sit on a plane, somebody next to me would start sniffing. I'd be that's it, I'm going to get a cold. And now they can all sit and snivel around me.
Yes, they still punch you.
And that's it. But I'm not worried about getting anything because I just know my immune systems are a lot more resilient.
All right.
It also helps strengthen your nervous system. So because what it allows us to do is tap into our autonomic nervous system and take control. So we can really work on our nervous system. So that has a whole host of benefits, which we can go into in a future episode.
Absolutely.
And then it's worth a mention that when you're in the cold, the first 30 seconds or so is when your body releases all sorts of interesting hormones like norepinephrine, and you get a real feel-good buzz.
You do. You get a bit of a lift, don't
you?
you?
It is. It's a bit like the buzz you get from drugs. It's the same sort of thing. You get that real high, and people may not realise it, but when you get in the cold, you may get that initial shock.
Yes.
But if you can breathe through that, so that might last you a couple of seconds, the next 30 seconds are heaven on earth.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can become addicted to that amazing feeling of going into cold water. All right, so we're talking ice baths, but we don't start with ice baths. So people who are on a wellness journey or thinking about cold exposure, there's a gradual, safe way to progress, isn't there?
There is, and I think one of the reasons that we decided we'd talk about this today is there are lots of people who've actually done a bit of cold exposure and they'd like to go further.
Yes.
And so we want to just talk about how you progress and some of the things that you might think about. But if you're starting, then your first starting point is usually going to be a cold shower.
Yes.
And that's going to be right at the end of your normal shower. So have your shower, do all your normal stuff, wash your pits and everything. And then once you're all done, then that's the time to turn off the hot water, leave the cold running, and stand in there for 30 seconds. Take a nice big breath, keep yourself cool, keep yourself calm, excuse the pun. Chill out.
Chill out in the cold water.
But just keep yourself calm, breathe through it, nice deep belly breaths. Think about staying relaxed. Think about the fact the water's cold, but you actually won't react as much as you think you will. So just push through.
A lot of it's in the mind, isn't it?
A lot of it's in the mind. If that's too hard for you, then all you need to do is step back from the water and just have it on your arms and on your legs, 30 seconds. That's your first step. build that up over the course of a few weeks to maybe 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And then once you've done that, you can take the next step, which is rather than going from warm to cold, switch the shower straight to cold and go into the cold shower for 30 seconds and then again build up from there.
Absolutely.
Now, some people get to that point, they never do anything different and they get lots and lots of benefits. They do that every day. Some people never take a warm shower again. Some people will alternate between hot and cold because that contrast therapy can bring its own benefits. But if you've enjoyed the cold shower, you just like to go a bit further, you've got 2 more options now. You can take a cold plunge, or you can take an ice bath, or maybe even cryotherapy, but that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So what the techniques we're usually talking about would be jumping into or getting into a cold pool of water, excuse me, or getting into an ice bath.
So we're talking about, the pool of water could be literally a swimming pool, could be a lake, could be an ocean, could be a swimming area where the temperature is at below 15 degrees C, so it's at a reasonable temperature for cold exposure, and you might have those available to you, or you might just have the cold shower, and that could be ongoing. And then once you're comfortable with the going into the cold water, then the next step would be to look at it or consider an ice bath.
You would. So, again, step by step. Don't jump into the ice bath straight away.
No, don't literally jump in.
Don't literally jump in. Take it through the steps, and there are reasons for taking it through the steps. And I just want to touch on that. The first one is safety.
Yes.
So you need to make sure you're safe. If you go anywhere beyond a cold shower, then make sure you've got somebody around.
Yes.
Just in case. You are dealing with a body of water, you're dealing with a body of cold water, and there can be physiological issues.
Yep.
So, don't be stupid. Don't go and do this on your own.
Yep.
Don't be brave.
Take a friend.
It's not a time for bravado.
No.
Take a friend with you. So that's the first reason. The second reason is you actually need to build up a tolerance to cold. So we live in this very comfortable society. Our houses are warm. You may live in a warm climate. You probably, dress up, rug up for the cold weather. We've got this really soft lifestyle, to be honest. And so we're not used to cold, which is why most people think,
cold exposure. Yes.
I couldn't possibly.
Absolutely.
Because it's something terrible for most of us. Because of that, we've lost our ability to withstand cold. We don't tolerate cold. We don't enjoy cold. Therefore, you need to build up. So if you're somebody who doesn't get exposed to cold, you don't like the cold, why would you immediately go for a 5-minute ice bath?
Yes.
You need to go through the steps, and gradually over time, what you'll find is that if 30 seconds in the shower is hard at first, within a month, you'll be able to do 2 minutes.
Yes.
Probably within 6 months, you'll be able to do 5 minutes straight off cold.
Yep.
So give your body time to adjust. Your cells will change. You will build up more brown fat, and that does take time to develop. So give your body a chance to adjust.
All right, so you've gone through the process of cold showers. You may have done some cold dips, and now you're ready for the ice bath challenge. So you're mentally ready and you're physically prepared. You're not jumping straight in. So before we get into what you might do before and during and after, let's have a look at some of the numbers, because you have a lot of questions around how long the time I should spend in versus the temperature of the ice area versus the frequency, how often I should do it. So maybe run through some, recommendations in that space.
Let's do it. Just before we do that, I want to run through the risks though.
Okay.
Because rather than somebody going off and doing an ice bath,
pressing pause on the podcast and going, right, I'm onto it.
I'm onto it.
So we'll do risks first.
I'm going to go in for this long at this temperature. Do bear in mind, and I don't want to scaremonger.
Yes.
I don't want to put people off because honestly, ice baths have got an amazing place in your daily routine or your weekly routine.
Yep.
And for me, the immune boost is a big one. But for a lot of people, those other benefits like the fat loss, really important, that feel-good factor. So don't want to put you off, but I do want to make people really well aware what they can do. The first thing is that the cold shock can trigger heart attack.
Yes, which is unfortunate.
At the end of the day, you're not going to get a lot of benefit
an ice bath stopper.
after the ice bath, after the heart attack.
Yes.
So, be smart about this. If you've had health issues, if you know you've got any cardiovascular issues, if you're older, if you're deconditioned, if you don't exercise, then you really do need to think about it, and you may just need to get checked out.
Absolutely. And so we'd always recommend that if you're unsure in any way, you go to your trusted healthcare provider and you ask them if cold showers or cold dips or an ice bath is something that could aggravate a particular medical condition, to make sure you're 100% confident that you're not going to put yourself at risk.
Now, what we know from all of our experience and all the research is that cold showers, ice baths can all improve cardiovascular condition.
Yes.
So these will, if done right and if done safely, they will actually improve your cardiovascular system. But if you're at risk, you need to know that before you start doing ice baths,
Yes.
just in case you trigger a problem.
Yep.
So it definitely can help you, but you need to be extra cautious.
Yes.
The second thing is you can get hypothermia. We are talking about cold.
Yeah. And you get chilly and cold, apparently.
And you get chilly and cold. And hypothermia basically is where your core body temperature, not your extremities, but your core body temperature drops below the point that you can no longer warm up. So our body's got this amazing ability where your temperature drops and we can actually shiver,
Yes.
and that's the main mechanism we use to warm up. The shiver mechanism actually generates heat, all that vibration. And what happens then is, as we generate the heat, we basically bring our body temperature right back up to where it should be. Might take a long time, but we can do that. There is a point of no return. There is a point at which, once you've crossed it, it is impossible to warm you up.
Yeah.
That's quite extreme, but in an ice bath, you don't always realise how cold you are.
Yes.
Because what happens when you're in the ice, and especially when you're at those very cold temperatures, the body, to protect the central part of the body, the essential organs, the heart and the liver and the kidneys, it will basically close off the blood supply to the extremities, to the arms and the legs. Because it's done that, you're not going to sense the cold as much. So people get in the ice and they often go, oh, it's cold. And then they say, actually,
It's not that bad.
it doesn't feel that cold. I feel quite warm. And the reason for that is all of your blood has gone into your core. Your arms, your fingers, all the nerves on your fingertips are no longer sensing cold. So that tricks you, because you then are tempted to stay longer because you feel good. You don't feel cold. You stay longer and longer, you're enjoying it, you feel happy.
It's very relaxing.
You're patting yourself on the back. Well done me, I've been in the ice bath for
And
a
this
long
is the
time.
voice of experience, isn't it, Lynn?
Oh, we've done it. We have done this.
Numbed ourselves in cold and gone, oh, we're really clever, then we got out.
And
it's like,
then you get out. And what
you get
happens then, Mike?
You have after drop.
You get after drop.
After drop, which
And
is
what is
not
after drop?
after drop, which is your body trying to warm up the blood that's gone to the middle of your body, going back out to the extremities again and getting frozen, causing you to shake uncontrollably
It does.
and have difficulty warming up.
Because basically what happens is you've got all that blood sitting in the core of the body,
Yes.
and it's been cut off from your arms and legs.
Yes.
So then all that blood goes off to the arms and legs, and as it does so, it goes through some very cold flesh.
Some frozen flesh.
So it cools down.
Yeah.
So your hot blood goes through your arms and legs, cools down, and comes back to the core colder. And that keeps on happening, and it's like a little mini heat exchanger in each arm and each leg. You've got 4 of them. So all of a sudden you've put your warm blood through a cold heat exchanger, and your body temperature drops, and it drops rapidly. And that is when you literally shake uncontrollably, and that's what we call after drop.
Absolutely.
The problem with that is, if you've only been in the ice for a few minutes, you can recover that. Your body can work. Like I said, it can shiver. You shiver and shake, and you probably won't be able to speak because you'll be shivering so much.
But it's only a couple of minutes.
But it's a couple of minutes, and
Yes.
your body will warm up.
Yes.
If you stay in the ice too long, your after drop will take you beyond that point of no return.
Yes.
And without medical assistance, you may not get it back.
Yeah.
So that is a very, very real risk. The next one is frostbite.
Yes.
And you've seen pictures of people with skin that's gone black, and it's, literally the skin and the flesh has died. You see it when people have, done these amazing feats, like they've walked across a snow plane or a Everest or something like that, and they've not had shoes on, and they feel fine. Their feet have gone numb, and when they get to the other side, one of their toes falls off.
Yes.
And there's all these horror stories. That's the extreme of frostbite. But in an ice bath, if you're exposed to that cold, very cold ice, sitting against your your extremities, your hands and your feet and your legs that have got no blood flowing through them, it's actually quite easy to kill the skin and the flesh.
Yes.
And I've had it.
I know you have.
I've definitely had that one.
I didn't laugh out loud.
I got out of my ice bath one day, having been in there for about 6 minutes.
Yes.
And really enjoyed it. Had a great time. It was about 2 degrees C. And I got out and I was fine. And then the next day I thought, gosh, I've bruised my leg. And when my leg had been against the side of the ice bath and pressed against some ice, basically that flesh had gone numb. And what it felt like my leg was bruised. And that went like a reddish colour. And it was actually quite difficult to move that part of my leg. So it was uncomfortable to walk. Now luckily it didn't go black, it didn't die. And I put heat on it and I brought it back. But you can get frostbite very, very easily. And that was
very
only 6
real
minutes.
risks. Yes. So we're not talking a long time.
And the last one that's got to be mentioned is the suppression of the immune system.
Yes, it's a very important one actually.
Ice baths boost your immune function, but if you spend too long in an ice bath, or you do it at too low a temperature, or you do it too often, then what's going to happen is you're going to eventually suppress the inflammation in the body and suppress your immune function, where you'll start to get infections, you'll start to get respiratory conditions. So you sort of go, you go from the good bit of immune boosting to completely suppressing.
Because the inflammation is important, isn't it, around wounds and cuts?
Absolutely. So inflammation is our body's way of healing.
Yes.
So when we get a cut, basically our body sends all the white blood cells into that area, it gets inflamed, and that inflammation actually allows all the new blood to come into the area with those white blood cells, patch it all up. It feels often a bit hot, it feels a bit uncomfortable, a bit tender.
Yes.
And then the healing occurs, and then as the healing occurs and the wound heals or whatever it is heals, gradually that inflammation will die down. So if you stop the inflammation, you stop the healing process.
Yeah. So if you're doing ice too often or too cold, that inflammation takes significantly longer or doesn't heal.
It does, and you won't find a lot of information on this in the literature, but that is really what happens.
It's very real.
Very
We've experienced
real.
that too.
We have.
Because we do these crazy things so that people can learn from the crazy things that we've done.
Exactly.
All right, so there's some of the warnings and there's some of the things to be aware of. And listening to you talk about them, it does make ice or cold exposure sound like a high risk sport.
And it is.
It is a high risk sport. It's not putting people off, but it's making people clearly aware that they need to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and some of the rules around it to do it safely and effectively, because it's very easy to make a simple mistake and have some consequences. So it's an important warning. Doesn't take away from the benefits, but like a lot of things, you've got to make sure you understand the information and the risks.
It's like driving.
Yes.
Driving your car will get you to a destination. The benefit is you get there quickly, you're in control. If you drive too fast, if you drive without a license, these things could get you killed.
Yes.
And that's what ice baths are like. They've got huge benefits, and it does allow you to take control of your body, does allow you to take control of your mind. The mental health benefits, I didn't mention those, but the mental health benefits are amazing.
They are.
Ice baths are phenomenal for things like depression and anxiety. Far better than SSRIs, so selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Much, much better than drugs.
Yes.
But recognise that they are a powerful healing modality, but they're also dangerous.
Yes.
So just respect them.
Respect them. All right, so let's give some numbers, because I think it's important if anybody's out there saying, okay, so I'm going to try an ice bath. There's a huge range of information out there, isn't there, around what are the correct temperatures, times and frequencies.
There's a huge range of information out there. There's very little applicable to exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
You can find studies on rats and mice.
Unhelpful.
You can find studies on winter swimmers who are in the water for an hour.
Yes.
But you find very little information about taking an ice bath for a health benefit and what temperature, time and frequency.
So the recommendations you're giving come from where?
These recommendations come from a range of scientific literature, and we can certainly post what the literature is. Most of them are inferred from human studies, which are all small-scale studies. So they're up to about 20 people. So you've got to take them with a pinch of salt in some ways. So there's research behind everything I'm about to say. science behind it all, but a lot of it is basically from our experience ourselves and working with people and training people in how to take ice baths safely. So, with everything, I always say do your research. With this especially, these are my guidelines, these are our guidelines, but you must find out what works for you.
Yes.
And be sure, especially if you have any health condition, to work with your medical professional.
All right, so you've done 3 categories. So let's walk through and we'll replay the numbers both in Celsius and Fahrenheit for the different listeners, just so we're really clear on and we're talking around the time spent in the ice from when you're fully into the ice bath. We're talking about the temperature of the ice bath, and the temperature can vary depending on where the ice sits, sometimes a bit colder on top, but if you average the temperature out, and we're talking about the frequency, the number of times per week that you should do this ice bath to get the benefits without the side effects.
Yes.
All right, where do you want to start?
All right, so I've got a little note over here. So if I'm looking across here, it's because I'm actually reading from a chart.
You want to get it right.
I want to get these ones right.
Go for it.
So let's start off. Let's start with the coldest.
Yes.
All right, so we're talking here about the lowest I would recommend going with an ice bath is 1 degree Celsius.
Right.
All right, which is 33.8 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And the reason for that is if you're literally sitting with frozen water, in other words, ice, against your skin, you're increasing your chance of frostbite.
Yes.
Anywhere below about 4 degrees, so 4 degrees, 39.2 Fahrenheit, those are the temperatures where we are risking frostbite.
Okay.
So these are the ones to be super careful about.
Yes.
And if you're nervous, then I wouldn't go below even 4 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
All right, I would stick a little bit higher. But if you're somebody who's done plenty of cold exposure, you have built up your tolerance and you're ready to go into, and you really want to do the ice, because it's a bit of a challenge.
It is a bit of a challenge.
It is a mental challenge. So if you're ready to do that mental toughness challenge and you want to do an ice bath, then 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, 33.8 to 39.2 Fahrenheit. So that's the temperature range we're talking about.
Yes.
Now we are talking about very, very cold water. It means that you may have free ice floating on the surface.
Absolutely.
Very likely to, actually, especially if you just put some ice cubes in to cool it down.
Yes.
These are the temperatures where your blood supply will cut off to your extremities really quickly.
Yes.
So you've got no blood flowing. It's also the temperature at which you will start to kill the flesh very, very quickly.
Yes.
So if you're sitting, and like me, I had my leg resting against the edge of the ice bath. There's a piece of ice sitting in there that I didn't realise, couldn't feel it, because you lose the sensation very quickly. Frostbite will occur very, very quickly at this temperature.
Yeah, so you've got to be mindful.
So this one is one to be cautious of. And
Yes.
for that reason, and based on the studies that we've seen, basically we're talking about limiting your time in the ice bath to 2 minutes maximum.
Okay.
So at those very low temperatures, 2 minutes, and I would only do this twice a week.
Yes.
And the reason for that is, in an ice bath, you're putting a stress onto your body. It's a good stress, it's a hormetic stress, and it allows your body to become more resilient to stress. But if you do it too often, it is a stress and it can cause your body to start to break down.
Yes.
So this is the extreme end. So twice a week is more than enough. And the reason twice a week is more than enough is it only takes 20 to 30 seconds to release the norepinephrine. And that's the mood booster.
That's the smiley stuff.
You're in very cold temperatures, so you're going to cool your core very quickly. You need to use your mind, and we're not talking today about using the mind to control things. We'll do a whole episode on that. You're going to use your mind to control your body temperature to make sure it doesn't drop too much.
Yeah.
And the other reason that you only need to do a couple of minutes at these temperatures is, and twice a week, is because the benefits will last for up to 7 days at a time.
Right. Yes. You get quite an extended amount of benefits for that very short period of time.
So it may not feel like enough. I mean, I put a timer on because honestly, 2 minutes in the ice
Goes very quickly.
time slows down.
Yeah.
You know, you're in there and time slows down, and 2 minutes you think is 30 seconds.
Yes.
So be careful, put the timer on.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's my first.
That's the lower temperature band.
The next level up from that, so if you don't want to go quite so low, but you do want to experience the ice bath, then I would go from 4 degrees to 8 degrees Celsius. So that's my next range.
Yeah. What's that in Fahrenheit?
And that in Fahrenheit would be 39.2 up to 46.4.
Okay, good.
All right, so that's a level at which you're nice and cold. It's definitely going to help you drop your core temperature.
Yes.
You're still going to have to work really, really hard to keep warm. You're going to have to work on your mind to avoid that, that dropping of the core temperature. And basically, you're going to have to really control your breathing and all of those sort of things.
You're still going to get happy hormones?
Still going to get the happy hormones because
Yes.
you're well in the range for happy hormones. Still going to get all the benefits.
Excellent.
So this time, we're going to say 4 minutes.
Right.
And we're going to say you could do this 3 times a week.
Okay.
It's a touch. I find that 4 degree is the point at which it's a lot less stressful.
Yes. Yes.
So below 4, very stressful. Above 4, nowhere near as
Still
stressful.
cold, but not as stressful.
Still cold, still beneficial, but stick to 3 times a week.
All right. What is the last band that you're considering as maybe a start point for those people who are a little bit unsure, and maybe the temperature band they want to look at initially?
And sometimes you may not be able to get it colder.
Yeah,
so,
true.
you may have
Depending
a
where you are.
little swimming pool or a little plunge pool.
Yes.
And this is the only temperature you can achieve. And honestly, this is still fine. This is still going to give you a lot of benefit. So we're now talking Celsius,
Okay.
which is 46.4 to 52.6 Fahrenheit. Now, at this temperature, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable. However, you may find you shiver more.
What's that?
And the reason is the body isn't going to cut off the blood supply so quickly.
Interesting.
So you've got the blood circulating to the extremities,
Yes.
and that's going to make you feel this. You've got the sensation of cold,
Yes.
and your body's going to try and warm you up.
Yeah.
And it's not bringing all the blood to the core. It's just going to try and do the warm up thing,
Yeah.
so you'll shiver. So
Interesting.
that's why you shiver at this temperature, but not at the 1 to 4 degree range.
Makes sense.
You might actually think you're doing really well when you're in that 1 degree water because you don't shiver, because you don't feel,
Yes.
because the body's just sucked all the blood to the core.
Yes.
So here we are, we're at 8 to 12 degrees Celsius. You can stay there for about 6 minutes.
Yep. And
6
how-
minutes comfortably.
and how often?
I reckon you could do that 5 times a week if you
Okay,
wanted
so
to.
quite frequently.
As long as you feel good,
Yes.
as long as you recover well.
Yep.
And think about this, when you get out of the ice bath and you've recovered, how do you feel? Do you feel good and energised? If you do, great. If you don't, pull back.
Yes.
Don't do as much, don't do it as often, don't do as long, don't do as cold.
Yes.
Very, very simple. So just monitor yourself.
All right. What about some tips before the ice bath, during the ice bath, and after, just so people are aware of what sort of things are going to assist the experience and improve the benefits of the ice bath?
Great, so before you get in, I really recommend doing some structured breathing, so some deep belly breathing. We recommend doing fairly fast, powerful, deep belly breaths with some retentions.
Yes.
And I think if you're interested in knowing what to do, have a look at our episode or have a listen to our episode all about breathing.
Absolutely.
So we explain that fully there. So probably do 15 minutes of breathing, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to tap into your autonomic nervous system. It's going to allow you to take control.
Yes.
It's also going to shift your body chemistry to a more alkaline state, and what that does is it turns off the pain receptors.
So it's more comfortable.
Now those pain receptors then mean that because they've been sort of dampened down,
Yes.
when you get in the ice,
You don't feel it as much.
it's not quite as a shock to the
yeah,
system.
yeah.
So that's my recommendation before is breathe, get your body nice and alkalised
Yep.
through the oxygen that you've put through the body, and then go in the ice.
Yes.
Then when you're in the ice, it's really important. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. It's really important to focus during the ice bath. So as you get in, you want to do a nice, calm, relaxed breath.
Yes.
You'll get that shock. You'll want to gasp. That's okay. Just get in, slow your breathing down. You want to do nice, slow breaths. Again, nice belly breaths. Keep the body calm. And while you're in there, what you're looking to do is to really focus on your body. So get the mind focusing on the body. Acknowledge that it's cold, but then start to work on warming yourself up. So what you want to be doing is you want to be thinking about, my hands are warm, the blood is flowing through my arms, my veins are open, my blood flows to my fingers are warm. So think really hard. You're in the ice bath, you can't necessarily see them. think about your fingers. Try and connect to your fingers with your mind.
Yes.
Warm your fingers up. If you need to, imagine a fire at your belly or a fire under your hands. Do the same with your feet.
Yep.
The whole time you're in there, focus really hard, because your aim is to not let your body temperature drop. You're going to use the power of the mind to control the body temperature.
Yes.
If you get distracted and you don't focus, your body temperature will drop. So it's very easy. You can do this, do it 2 days in a row. Day 1, focus. Day 2, don't focus.
Very
and
different
watch
experience.
how cold you get on day 2.
Yes. Yeah, it's significant, isn't it?
So you are really, this is where the benefit comes. Taking control of the immune system and the autonomic nervous system is only possible when you focus your 100% of your mind on staying warm and connecting.
And we've talked before about meditation. This is a form of meditation. It's a mind-body connection.
100%.
So it's 100% focus on connecting the mind and the body in a very tranquil environment, a very relaxed environment. So those people out there who aren't interested in meditation, ice baths provide the perfect environment for make that mind-body connection, which is very, very similar to meditation and gives you the benefits, A, of meditation, but B, of keeping that body temperature at a stable level.
Exactly right. And you should be doing this during your cold showers, but it's probably not as important. So really focus on keeping warm. And then when you get out, what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing we're going to do is, after we've made sure that our limbs are all still moving,
snap your fingers off.
If you are at that 1 to 4 degrees, you may feel a bit stiff when you get out. That's normal. If you're very stiff or any of your body parts feels like a frozen chicken, you've stayed in too long. Okay, so if you get the frozen chicken feeling, is the indication you've done too much.
If you can't get out of the ice bath, that's a sign.
And you will find it's significant.
It is.
So get out, dry off, and then the first thing I recommend is doing a big shake, just like you see animals do when they've had a fight. Literally, shake everything. And it does a few things. It shakes off the stress.
Yes.
Right, so it literally shakes off the stress. That's what animals are doing. Secondly, it vibrates the cells, and that allows the oxygen to start flowing again, allows the blood to start flowing.
Yep, starts that
so
process.
You start getting the pumping of the blood. The next thing you can do is stand in what we call a horse stance. It's a Qigong move. So you simply put your feet wider than your hips, a little bit of a squat, so you've got your legs bent, but your body's upright, let your hands dangle. And then if you want to, you can just move your hands from one side to the other as it feels comfortable. And all that's good. It's a nice strong stance, and it does amazing things for getting your energy and your blood circulating again. So you'll find if you do maybe 10 minutes in that horse stance, you'll warm up very quickly.
So is the theory just a gentle movement to stimulate the blood flowing throughout the body? Is that the...
Do whatever feels comfortable, but this is not a vigorous exercise.
No,
it's not like a punching movement.
No, it's a very gradual...
We're not jogging. We're not trying to mechanically move the body. We're simply doing a rhythmic, nice, slow flowing exercise. And think about the blood flowing. Think about the energy flowing.
It's a lot of mind-body.
All the mind-body connection. And what that's going to do is going to help us warm up without getting that after drop or big shivers. And again, if you get out and you get after drop, you start to shiver violently, you've been too long. So if this is your first ice bath at 1 degree C, that's 33.8 degrees F, 2 minutes may be too long, 30 seconds might be enough. So you only want to do the ice bath until the point where you don't get an after drop. You can definitely do longer and longer.
Absolutely.
But stick to my guidelines.
Yes.
And always use your own experience as your best guideline. If you get out, you're freezing cold, you're almost on the edge of hypothermia, you've gone too far.
And especially if you get out and you have to use an external heat source, you have to jump into a shower or jump in front of a heater, ideally you've gone too far, because ideally you want to be able to re-warm your body naturally, so, which is your qigong, which is your horse stance. So it's bringing that body temperature back to a normal body temperature without any external heat or any external source. And that's kind of the ideal transition.
You're exactly right. We're trying to use the mind to warm the body, and that's where the benefit in this technique comes. It's the mind over body, taking control of what can't normally be controlled because it's automatic functions. So do that. So for example, in winter, I take my ice baths and I don't have heating on in my house, and my house can be down at about 10 degrees.
Yes.
And I literally don't bother putting any heating on. I just warm myself. It saved me energy. My energy bill went down. But I don't need the external heat.
Absolutely, yeah. It is that mind-body control. So there's some really good tips there. That's a really nice indicator. If you have to get into a shower or have to get in front of the heater, you've probably gone too far. If you can bring your body temperature back with your mind-body control and some activities, that's a good indicator you've had the benefits of the cold exposure, but you haven't overdone it,
Exactly.
be it time, temperature or frequency.
Exactly. So let me just do a quick recap on benefits and risks, because honestly, really don't want to put people off. Benefits are amazing. Everything from weight loss, blood sugar, through to inflammation, immune system, feeling good.
Yes.
But if you get out of your ice bath, any parts of your body are numb. If you have stiffness, if anything's painful, if you're short of breath, if you've got bruising, if you can't warm up, or you've got wounds that are not healing, then start backing off, because you're just doing a bit too much.
Interesting. So fascinating subject. And those people out there, if you've got any questions, because it's quite an important subject to get right, fire us through some questions. We'd love to help. But thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us again on the Peaks Life, and we'll see you next time.